Desperation in southern Sudan as famine victimizes the most innocent and the most vulnerable. Aid workers say $1 million a day relief operation has not eased the desperation in southern Sudan. There, more than 2 million people are at risk of starvation. And in one town alone, 50 people are dying every day. Israeli reporter Erez Yanuv visited the region recently. He says in his 6 years of reporting on African crises, he has never seen such a disaster.
The death fields of southern Sudan are no place for the weak, but the hundreds of thousands here can be described in no other way. For 2 years, no rains fell in the region at all. The drought is devastating. This year, the down drops never cease, but there are no seeds to sow. Women toil for long hours to prepare a meager meal. Here, every last grain is considered an invaluable luxury. Some farmers, using the very last of their energy, are plowing the fields to plant seeds that the United Nations may bring. One of the largest hunger centers in southern Sudan is located in the village of Ajiep, about 1,000 kilometers south of the capital Khartoum, in the heart of the green death fields of Bahr el-Ghazal region. In the past few months, tens of thousands of refugees and displaced persons fleeing the invading Muslim forces trekked to Ajiep in search of food. Most residents of southern Sudan are members of the Dinka tribe, the tallest people in the world. Their only sin is being observant Christians. After the declaration of a ceasefire last month, a Belgian team from the organization Doctors Without Borders built a small feeding center here. In the coming weeks, as soon as construction is completed, they will provide food for 4,000 hungry mouths. Madiok, age 5, and his mother smile at me as I enter the center. He and his mother walked through the marshes for 3 days to arrive here after Madiom's father died. His mother has been left with 5 hungry children and no way to feed them. We are desperately in need of food for our children, she says, otherwise they have no chance of survival whatsoever. They waited an entire day in the sun for the health examination. In the small hut, Madiom is finally being weighed.
How much? 7.4.
0.4. 5-year-old, is it enough? Huh? They measuring his height.
82.
But under the present circumstances, a 5-year-old boy weighing 7.5 kilograms is not in critical condition. Thus tonight, Madiom will go to sleep hungry once again. What is it here?
This is ORS, our hydration solution.
While Madiom drinks the solution, a frail infant crawls into the hut begging for milk. Outside, using the very last of his energy reserves, 13-year-old Akel Chol is also waiting for attention. He too is given the special anti-dehydration solution. Several meters away, 5-year-old Chol Awek is guarding her private treasure, a handful of huge grains of corn which arrived directly from faraway Texas. Another infant comes out with a full bowl of milk, but loses most of it along the way before it even reaches her mouth.
Logistically, it's difficult to function in this area because of the rains and the airstrips not being landable. This child is in our therapeutic feeding program. That means he meets the criteria of the therapeutic feeding program.
He is on emergency, but you say he will survive.
Well, unless he comes across a very bad disease where, like a lot of watery diarrhea or so on. She's in a supplementary. She goes and receives a ration once a week with her mother.
That's a special case, huh?
Well, I know that the other child died, and so this is the only one she has left. I think it's too big now. Can you imagine? I think
too big, huh?
It's too big.
That's too big to get into the center.
Maybe. Yeah.
By the next morning, 4 people had died in the village. Among the dead was 13 years old Akel Chol. The anti-dehydration solution he drank yesterday proved to be useless. Just a week ago, his mother died. Only one member of his family remains to accompany him on his last journey.
Normally, under 5s in Africa, we have a mortality rate of below 1 per 10,000 per day. A crisis situation is from above 2 per 10,000 per day. Here we are at about 30 or even more per 10,000 per day in the under 5s.
Akel Chol is buried according to the local traditions. The emergency aid that arrives here falls directly into the hands of the rebels. The Islamic fundamentalists in the north are well aware of this fact. It is just a matter of time until the massive humanitarian operation here is accompanied by new bloodshed. Yanuv is only one story of the misery in South Sudan. More than 2 million people are starving here and will be dependent on food from the outside till next summer. Erez, Yanuv, Ch2News Israel for CNN World Report.
This is CNN International.
Steady hands in Angola as specialists battle a silent killer. Experts estimate up to 120 million landmines are scattered around the globe. And the International Red Cross says they kill about 800 people and maim 1,200 every month. One of the hardest hit nations is Angola. 25% of its health budget is devoted to treating landmine victims. Israel's Channel 2 has more from Angola.
Vitorino Kitamba is one of the last victims of the long war in Angola. He's only 5 years old, yet he knows that it will take many years before he can play again with his friends. The children of Angola go without prosthesis. It is too expensive. Peace arrived too late also for 24-year-old Fernando Wingua. Exactly 1 year after losing his leg on the main road just by his home, Fernando walks on tour again, and his friends can surely be envious. 20 years of civil war in Angola has left it holding a world record. Landmines explode here every day, says Tamar Golan, the Israeli ambassador to Angola. At least 4 children are killed each month by mines. It is the country with the highest percentage of landmines per person in the world. And this is the situation as of today. More than 30 countries produce over 60 types of anti-personnel landmines. Each mine costs only a few cents to make, but the outcomes are destructive, fatal, devastating. In this minefield in the city of Huambo in central Angola, 1 mine is removed every hour. The pace is slow, miserably slow. Israel, which refuses to join the international ban on anti-personnel landmines, did put forth a small effort last year. My worst fear, says Hanoch, is that we are working with a population that seem to understand the hazards of landmines, and suddenly, a week later, you might hear of an accident which occurred in the neighborhood where you just visited, where you thought your message got through and you managed to save a few lives. Hanoch and his friends are asking to do anything possible to see that there will be no more children like Vitorino. Erez, Yanuv, Ch2News Israel for CNN World Report.
To our viewers around the world, peace on earth from CNN International.
Coming up on CNN World Report, rebel troops in Angola return to homes they haven't seen in more than a decade, as anxious loved ones wonder if peace will keep the newly united families together.
Changing times in Angola. Families of former rebels pack up and go home. The United Nations says Angola's president may meet soon with the leader of the UNITA rebel movement. The two sides fought a bitter 20-year civil war, ending with the peace treaty in 1994. But the United Nations says UNITA has failed to meet key parts of the agreement. UNITA still controls more than 40% of the land it seized during the war, and its demobilization effort is more than a year behind schedule. Israel's Channel 2 recently visited Angola and has more on the country's slow recovery from war.
This girl does not remember the beginning of the long war in Angola. She only knows that her father was always a soldier, and now he is no longer one. And that the most important thing right now is to look after the hen, especially during the flight. These are all families of demobilized soldiers still loyal to Jonas Savimbi, the head of UNITA faction, which controls most of Angola's territory and which has yet to come to terms with his defeat in the elections 3 years ago. All these soldiers are flying home today, to homes which they left 10, 15, even 20 years ago. Meanwhile, they all established families which lived with them on the front line in midst of the battlefield. Presently in Angola there is no peace, no war, and there is a great dream to become a regional power. This country is the second Persian Gulf. Enormous amounts of oil have been discovered here, of even better quality than that in the Gulf, says Tamar Golan, the Israeli ambassador to Angola. Everybody is coming here, and I'm very happy that a first Israeli oil company is trying to gain a foothold. The call for more Israelis to invest here comes also from leading representatives of the two Angolan factions. Till recently, they clashed with each other. Today, they talk of a common vision.
If we stop this situation, war, no war, we succeed. For me, this country can help a lot of other countries in the region or maybe somewhere.
We want to be the linking element between Southern Africa to the northern part, which is Central Africa.
For now, a whole new country needs to be rebuilt. This, for example, is the front of the Revolutionary Museum in Luena, in an area that all throughout the war was in the hands of the ruling faction of President José Eduardo dos Santos. Luena is surrounded by minefields. The only way to and from Luena is by a UN flight. It does not appear that these former soldiers wish to return to war, yet no one is checking that indeed they are flying home and not to regroup. Now, in slow, reluctant steps and with new clothes, the little girl and her hen are on the way to the new home that her father has promised. At least she is convinced that he will keep his promise. In Angola, Erez Yanuv, Channel 2 News Israel, for CNN World Report.
Rwandan refugees, hundreds of thousands of them, are returning home. This is an exodus that actually began 2 years ago when Rwanda was turned into a bloody cauldron of ethnic genocide and civil war. The migration is the second mass return to Rwanda in the past month. Erez Yanuv of Israel's Channel 2 is in Rwanda right now. He's reporting on humanitarian efforts in the region, and he joins us now by phone from Kigali. Erez, what kind of mass migration are you seeing there?
In the past few hours, Ralph, I've seen tens of thousands of refugees walking on the way from the Tanzanian border. Actually, they are being tracked by the authorities and by the UNHCR to Kayunza. It's a junction just about 60 kilometers east of Kigali. From there, they are walking to the villages that they left about 2.5 years ago, which will, of course, will create a new problem right now in the region, because most of those houses in these villages are occupied with refugees that came back 2.5 years ago from Uganda.
Obviously, Erez, there is a lot of fear among these refugees. What is waiting for them when they get back to Rwanda?
It looks like and it sounds like very, very organized effort by the local government here, and of course with the international aid groups and UNHCR especially. It looks like they are being tracked in, they are registered. Of course, the housing will be the main problem. That's the main problem that the Rwanda government is talking about for the past 2 years or almost 2.5 years. All those refugees that would not find their homes or will not find a place to live will have to be resettled. And this is the main problem. Of course, the other problem is many of the refugees, especially the people that came from Zaire last month, there are some of them in charge of creating the genocide. Some of them are coming forward and admitting that we have like hundreds of people coming forward, admitting, participating in the genocide, asking the government to be punished for those crimes. Some of them are asking to be jailed. Very few of them are being jailed because the jails are very crowded right now. And the Rwandan government is promising now to start the trials long awaited for in the beginning of January, maybe.
Well, Erez, many of those refugees left Rwanda about 5 years ago after the massacre, and it's my understanding that some of these, or at least some, maybe a lot more, have been admitting to taking part in that massacre. Is that right?
Absolutely, sir. This is one of the main problems here. One of the main problems in Rwanda right now is how to deal with those who committed the killings and those that are neighbors that know that the neighbors killed and they're coming back now. They cannot go back to jail. The government promising to deal with them later after the resettlement project will take turn to the positive way and start moving on. So they will be dealt with. That the government is promising they will be dealt with later, not right now.
Okay, Erez Yanuv of Channel 2 in Israel, thank you very much for that report.
On CNN International's World Report, they've come to pay respect to the dead and offer support for those that have survived. How Israel is helping the people of Rwanda get back on their feet. Only on CNN International.
Rwanda's children finally find something to cheer about, a gift from Israel. The United Nations has set the stage for another 500,000 Rwandan refugees to return home. A UN agreement with Tanzania calls for refugees in Tanzanian camps to return by December 31st. The UN and Tanzania decided the refugees would be safe after thousands of them trekked home from Zaire and Burundi. Mostly Hutu refugees fled Rwanda in 1994, fearing retaliation for the massacre of 500,000 Tutsis. The Rwandan government has appealed for international aid for the refugees, and this week Israel sent food and medicine. Channel 2 reports.
Less than an hour after the Israeli relief airplane landed in the Kigali airport, the first batch of food arrived at the Rwanda Transit Center near Kigali. This truck brought the first bags of rice collected by the children of Israel for the children of Rwanda.
We think it is a very good gesture because in this kind of difficulty we need friends who can come to the ground, to the camp itself. And I think Israel as a delegation is the first country to come and reach the camp like this and even bring some assistance physically to the camp.
Here in these transit camps is one of Rwanda's biggest tasks. Among the returnees are many of the killers of 2 years ago. Thousands of them are coming forward, admitting publicly they participated in the genocide. Now, the Rwandan government has to find a just way to deal with them. The genocide 2 years ago claimed about 1 million victims. Here are buried the remains of hundreds of villagers killed on the 11th of April, 1994. And the Church of Ntarama, that suddenly went from a place of worship to a shrine of remembrance. More than 3,000 people were massacred here, many of them children and infants. Dozens of silent memorial shrines like in Ntarama are scattered around Rwanda. For Rwandans, the wreath placed by the Israeli delegation in honor of the victims symbolizes the invisible link between the common faith of the two peoples.
Maybe they can give us some of their experiences. We know that also they faced a genocide. We know that they faced problems of shelter, of refugees coming from all over the place.
2 Israeli experts in health and agriculture will stay in Rwanda, reporting to the cabinet in Jerusalem about the needs Rwanda faces in resettling the returning refugees. In the meantime, the children of Rwanda thank the children of Israel for their first contribution. In Kigali, Rwanda, Erez Ch2News, Channel 2 News Israel, for CNN World Report.
Coming up on CNN World Report, doctors try to ease the suffering in a huge camp for Rwandan refugees. We'll show you an Israeli television report on how they're doing.
Celebrating a decade of achievement. This is CNN International.
Rwanda is seeking United Nations permission to import weapons. The country's UN ambassador said Wednesday Rwanda needs to defend itself against the Hutu militants responsible for last year's massacres. Meanwhile, humanitarian needs are still great in the region. Israel's Channel 2 reports.
Goma, Zaire, 1 year later. There is no sign of the columns of dead bodies which once lay in their thousands beside the main roads. But almost 1 million refugees from Rwanda live here. Most of them refuse to return home so long as the new government rules in their country. This is where an Israeli military field hospital was set up 1 year ago. No sign remains today of the death, suffering, and immense life-saving effort. Instead, there are dozens of unaccompanied minors, children who lost their families or who simply got lost in last year's terrible massacre. Over 70,000 of them live in the camps around Goma. 1 year ago, Israeli doctors saved the life of 4-year-old Frida Paskasi after almost 1/3 of her body was severely burnt. Today, almost no scars are visible.
I really appreciate their great job.
15-year-old William lives in another camp. 1 year ago, he arrived at the Israeli hospital suffering from severe diarrhea. Within 1 week, he was out of hospital, safe and well. But William, like his sister Angelica and many others in the camp, are not planning to return home to Rwanda soon. Angelica and many others point their fingers specifically at this man, who took over the whole country during a 3-month campaign 1 year ago.
How can you guarantee the safety as soon as they cross the border?
One assurance is that there are 5 million people here in the country. You see?
Yes.
The fact that they are alive and well.
As far as the eye can see, the shattered country is coming back to life, slowly and calmly. The land produces new fruits, the markets are full, people go to church on Sundays. It is obvious that over 2 million Rwandan refugees present a problem. Observers say it is a problem in which lie the seeds of the next round of fighting. Still, all these refugees will go back home. There is no end, as we can see, to the war in Rwanda. In Goma, Zaire, Erez Yanuv, Channel 2 News, Israel, for CNN World Report.
Relief workers in Zaire are struggling to cope with a cholera epidemic that has broken out among Rwandan refugees. The ethnic turmoil inside Rwanda has prompted more than 1 million Hutu refugees to cross into Zaire in the past week. An international aid operation is also underway for Rwandans in Tanzania. Israel's Channel 2, a new contributor to CNN World Report, has this perspective on the relief efforts of the Israeli government.
Tell them, please, the time from Jerusalem. Tell them Israel government sent some medicine and food I brought on a truck this morning. Sure.
We are going to sing the song which is called Jerusalem.
In Nairobi, Kenya, we loaded the truck. We hope it is just the beginning of the assistance, not the end. We hope to contribute in areas in which we have a relative advantage, says Roy Gilad, the Israeli consul in Nairobi. And we hope that following the truck behind me, the State of Israel will also send medical teams. Within weeks of the Israeli government's decision to help the Rwandan refugees, the Israeli embassy in Nairobi organized this shipment. With Safari and Issa, 2 Tanzanian drivers, we spent days and nights on the way, crossing all of northern Tanzania from east to west. Besides the pastoral views, there were some breakdowns also. Issa, what happened, Issa?
Yeah?
What happened? Where did we stop?
Hamna shida.
Safari and Issa didn't understand a word of English, but somehow we managed to communicate and understand each other. After 4 days and nights, we finally reached the Benako camp on the Rwandan-Tanzanian border. In inhuman conditions, more than 300,000 people are crowded here. These are the lucky ones who escaped the massacres in the country.
If I would stay in Rwanda, the soldiers of RPF would kill me.
Why?
Because I am Hutu.
The massacres occurred against the background of ethnic feuding between the minority Tutsis and the majority Hutus. They erupted after the president's assassination on April 6th. Only a very few, most of them Christian, managed to get here safely. The large amount of international relief that already reached the Benako camp saved most of the refugees here. The problem remains. 2 to 3 million refugees, maybe more, are still trapped inside Rwanda. The UN is now asking Israel to send medical teams to within Rwanda. The Israeli relief that reached the Benako camp is just a drop in the bucket, but, according to the Israeli Foreign Ministry, it was just the beginning. Erez Yanuv, Israel Channel 2 News for CNN World Report.